About half. How many are Europeans? Almost the same. How many are elsewhere?
Almost the same.
You got two hands. Okay. How many are mostly trained in law? Well, I don't know what I have. Okay. Oh, again, mostly law. Aha. Mostly planning. I didn't think so. So it's about 50-50 again. Nice. Something else? What else could there be?
Economics.
Economics, yes, yeah, something else like economics. Yay! Yes.
Political science.
And as we usually ask, I need two hands here. Who are both planning and law as training? Well, that's a right. Okay, now that we have this stock taking, I have some thoughts about this continent and Europe, and then some thoughts about our organization. I worked a lot on comparative planning, law and planning alone for some years, seeking out the various people. And I thought, gosh, there's no platform for exchange of ideas. The first organization that where I tried to and form this international group to exchange knowledge between planning and law and get us to work together as academics. The first organization was the Americans, the Association of Collegiate Schools of Planning. How many are planning educators in ACSP? Very few here. That's very, very few. Interesting. And now look at this interesting paradox. Although planning law in the U.S. Both as a practice and as an academic specialization is stronger than in Europe. I'm generalizing, but that's my feeling. I was not successful in offering this at ACSP. I mean, when I say that planning law is stronger in this continent, planning law is taught, I think, in all or most accredited planning schools. That's not the case on the continent. It is the case in the UK, but it's not the case on the continent. There are leading planning law scholars on this continent with a lot of publications and working planners, and there are very few on the continent. One of the leading ones being Beth Davey here, our president of this association, but there are actually very few. And yet I was not successful at ACSP, and I was wondering why? Why is that? I think probably because the USA is so inward-looking that the idea of having planning and law and having international and that kind of exchange somehow didn't ring a bell. So paradoxically, we launched the precursor to this association through ACSP, which is the Association of European Schools of Planning, even though around me there were hardly any planning and law people at that association. Why? When I think backwards, I think it is because ACSP, being so international, is also more open. Now, when we look at what we have achieved, I see so many collaborations among people who would have never known each other. from planning and from law and from real estate, I'll say a word about real estate in a minute, who wouldn't have met in the same country or on the same continent, but certainly across the world and across fields. So, are we almost like biochemistry or biophysics? In many ways, yes. I think in many ways we are becoming a strong interdisciplinary discipline. And I see it coming, and I think it's really wonderful. A word, and I'm almost finished, about real estate. Are there any people here from real estate programs in the USA? One. My glasses on to see the phenomenon. Okay. When we do these conferences or the track on ACSB, planning and law track, we have more. And the reason there is because real estate taught in Europe, in the British and Scandinavian model, and also in the Far East, has much more of a land regulation and law component, which is almost absent from US real estate schools. So we see disciplinary difference here. Finally, I want to recognize the people here who you may not know. First of all, the current president of PLPR, Ben Davey. I think most saw you yesterday. Was it yesterday? So long ago, yesterday morning, but perhaps not all. And the previous president, we already have the third president, Leonie, Professor Leonie Jansen. Leonie, could you stand up? And I also want to recognize the second honorary fellow, I'm the first, thanks to the association, the second honorary fellow, Professor Philip Lewis. Phil, where are you? This is only our second day. We have a whole day to go, almost half day. It's been a fabulous conference, and that's because not only the organization, but the papers have been absolutely great. Thanks to our fantastic local host, Ed Sullivan. I was actually going to reprimand him when you were clapping. And you should know that teaching should not override a once-in-a-lifetime conference. You're so wonderful, and thanks so much for the members of this organization committee. You should all know that they help